We're live. We're live. What is up, ladies and gentlemen of M Cubed? I'm Schmidt. It's been a week. As we know, we didn't do this yesterday. Just felt it was better for today. That was all. That was all. Nothing crazy. Nothing crazy. It should go back to Mondays as usual. It's just the ultimate problem was there hasn't been a lot of news, and not a lot of content. And usually I'd probably review some movie or something. And, I think it's getting to the point where I think I would prefer that if I have a guest on, for example, just like if I'm reviewing, like, of course, when a show comes out, like I review each episode or whatever, and that's fine. When it comes to a movie, I like to get other perspectives besides y'all's, who's in the comments. But we're not going to do a review today. This is probably going to be a fairly quick stream, I hate to say. But it's weird, I find it very weird with the comic book industry to not have that much to talk about. And there's nothing really airing as we speak because Loki's done, Gen V's done, Invincible's on a break. So we're in a little bit of a dry spell currently. What's coming up? We have some things on the horizon, though. Like, I think that's how it is. It's December. People don't like to drop a lot of things in December when it comes to TV. Movies is a different story. Aquaman comes out soon. I'm going to see that and review it for you guys, no doubt. That's really it. Well, I guess we have What If. What If is on the horizon. And the thing is, of course, I don't know the exact day it starts, but they're releasing an episode every day of What If. So that'll be fun to talk about because basically by the time of it starting and us having a stream, we'll have we'll have every episode most likely of What If, which is cool. And yes, David, you're right. Rebel Moon. To be fair, that kind of fits into the sci-fi fantasy genre of things where this is strictly comic books. But when it comes out, I'm probably going to talk about it at least. Might not be a full-on review, but you know me, I love my Zack Snyder. He's made 4 of my favorite comic book movies of all time. He's made Watchmen and then that Justice League trilogy, which I think is unmatched. The only superhero movies I have ahead of any of those, and with my personal ranking, is like Spider-Man 2 is the only one I think I like more than any of them. BVS and Spider-Man 2 are pretty neck and neck. It just depends on my mood. In terms of team up, like I love the first Avengers movie. I love Civil War. I love Avengers, Infinity War, and Endgame, of course. But I'll take Justice League probably over at least Endgame. Infinity War I might like more. And then Man of Steel is one of my favorite solo superhero movies, right? So I'm clearly excited for Rebel Moon. So don't you think I forgot about that? It just isn't in that comic book sphere, right? Because I'm pretty sure it's an original property. Could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure. Whoever else is watching, say hey. But I know I have David here, always here to check me, But yeah, we had that, and then January is where things start to pick up a little bit more because we'll have all 5 episodes of Echo dropping at once on January, I want to say the 22nd or the 16th. It's one of those dates, I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong. If someone wants to fact check me, go right ahead. And then February is we're going to get The Ones Who Live, which is where we finally see Rick Grimes after I don't even know how many years it would be. I don't remember when his last season was. 2019? Yeah, that makes sense. 2019 was season 9, I believe. Maybe end of 2018. So regardless, at that point, it was at least 5 to 6 years without Rick Grimes. And that's a long time. So I'm excited. I can't wait to talk about that show. That will be something I'm going to talk about every single week for those who love The Walking Dead. Because, again, The Walking Dead is, in fact, a comic book property. So I'm excited. But, yeah, there's not too much. Like, not a whole lot with news and not a whole lot dropping currently. But that's okay. Because we're going to get a lot here in the near future. We're going to get, like, House of the Dragon, which I think could count it because there are graphic novels based on Game of Thrones, but I might just count that with fantasy. But we might talk about it a little bit. And then we have Deadpool. We have some of Sony movies. We have, Madam Web, Craven, Venom 3 are all supposed to drop next year. We'll see about Venom 3. I don't even know if they've started shooting yet. But obviously Deadpool 3 is the highlights. And then for DC, I don't even know what comes out next year. I don't even know if they have anything. I could be wrong. I could be very wrong. But I could just be blanking. But again, I see 2025 is where we're going to really hit our stride because we're going to get Superman Legacy. We're going to get 4 MCU projects, I'm pretty sure, or movies, I should say. And then the Batman Part 2 is supposed to come out that year. So we're again, it's a little slight hiatus. But of course, if there's nothing to talk about, we'll always have something to talk about, right? Because even a couple of weeks ago, we did our MCU ranking, which was fun. It was fun. And one of these days, I'm gonna try my damnedest to get Brad on here maybe next week, and that's where we can finally have the long-awaited Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy review, which I can't wait to talk about with him because one of my best friends who I talk comic books with all the time, and those are some of our favorite movies. Those are movies that shaped us into who we are. At least me. I don't know if I can speak for him, but he loves those movies. Yeah, and David, I hope you can get AMC back as well, because the ones who live is gonna slap. Rick is whenever. I know me and Harris were talking about it a little bit, but we're gonna try to get San Diego Comic-Con next year if possible. So maybe we can have a little meet and greets, and hopefully we're big enough by then, but we'll see. But you'll probably see me dressing up as one of my favorite fictional characters of all time, which is Rick Grimes. Him and Spider-Man and Superman are my 3 favorite fictional characters. I'll throw Luke Skywalker in that mix, and Anakin Skywalker. That's probably my top 5 favorite fictional characters out there. So you'll see me as one of them, guaranteed. Anyway, I guess when it comes to news, I don't think there's been a ton. Let's see. I know we have the Jonathan Majors trials going on right now. It's not looking good. I've read some texts. They seem kind of effed up. I'm not really going to talk about it. Ultimately, he does not look very good via these text messages. That's all I'll say. So it looks like Marvel's probably going to have to figure something out. I guarantee you they're just going to recast because they have so much build up with Kang, and David, don't get me wrong, Batman's up there too. I'd probably throw Batman in that mix and probably take out Luke because I think I like Anakin Skywalker the best in Star Wars. Han Solo's in that mix too. So many great fictional characters out there, and Batman's obviously up there. Like I love Batman. I'm just always more of a Superman guy based on like hope, and he's like a Jesus figure. That's why I like Anakin as well, because they're both like, I love my chosen ones. I love Harry Potter. And yeah, I feel like Rick Grimes is going to be like a chosen one to this Walking Dead universe. His blood might have the cure. There's potential of that. That's what I think they're going to go with They Who Live, or the ones who live. I think they might get into a cure aspect with that show. I'm excited. But yeah, the Majors trials, they're not looking great. Okay, so the MCU has never really had problems with recasting, as we've seen quite a bit. Outside of Black Panther, which I thought was weird. I think they definitely just should have recast him. I don't think it would have been a disservice to Chadwick Boseman. It sucks that he died. It's terrible. But they just should have recast it because Black Panther is one of the coolest characters in Marvel. Just make it happen. But now they're just going to give it with the whole multiversal thing, and then we'll eventually get a new actor playing T'Challa. It's just bound to happen. If they could have made them more money, they just decided to recast, but it's okay. I love Chadwick, and Wakanda Forever is good. So, but and this is a bit of the I don't know. It just misses an oomph without having T'Challa, the king of Wakanda. But again, the MCU is not afraid to recast ultimately. Like we saw it with Edward Norton for Hulk. We saw it with Terrence Howard as Rhodey for Don Cheadle. We saw it even just recently. We haven't seen it yet, but you see, instead of William Hurt playing Thaddeus Ross, we have Harrison Ford. So they're okay with recasting, and I think we'll see it. I think we'll see it. I think we're gonna see it with Kang. You're good. You're good, Harris. We've just been chatting a little bit about like what's on the horizon. We're finally into some news. Chatted a little bit about how there's not a whole lot coming out right now, but we're gonna get What If here soon. We're getting Echo here soon. So, and then we're getting The Ones Who Live here in the near future as well. So we're gonna have some good content to talk about. But anyway, I see them recasting Kang. Some favorites I have. When I watch Den of Nerds, his name always comes up, and he hates this actor, but I really like this actor. John David Washington. I think he'd be a killer Kang. I think he'd kick ass. He always says how he's such a dog shit actor. I'm like, dude, I love Tenet. I think he's great in Tenet. I haven't seen that new Gareth Edwards movie. I can't remember what it's called. But I love J.D. Washington. I think he's the man. I'd love him to be Kang because it sucks because Jonathan Majors is a very gifted actor, but I really see this trial going south, and he may serve up to a year in prison based on it. That's the max. It seems like, but again, you never know. You never know what's going to happen. But regardless, this just adds a lot of bad publicity and press. So it's just I see them just cutting that cord and just recasting because I don't think you can shift away from Kang. A lot of this phase has been Kang centric. So that washing machine sounds crazy. I was like, what the fuck was that? Anyway. What else? We have some Echo reviews came out, and apparently it's sounding okay. I think they sent out at least the first 3 episodes of screeners. People are saying Daredevil's in the first episode, which is tight. So we don't have to wait like She-Hulk to get the man after a while. So excited for that. And yeah, I guess that's really it for my news. Because again, there's not a whole lot. Studios are starting to film stuff again. We're getting some new projects on the horizon. 2025 and like 2026 is when we're really going to see a lot of stuff. So I'm excited for that. That's why I think our channels will be huge during that time. I'm excited for the future. Very amped. But until then, let's talk about this current state of superhero television or comic book television in general. But I think it's going to lean more towards the superhero side because we're not getting a whole lot else in the comic book show side. We're not getting The Walking Dead. I mean, we had Daryl just come out, Dead City as well. I can't really think of any other like comic book based shows that aren't superhero related. But lots of train of thought. I was about to have some other comment there. Oh well. So I watched the first episode of Gen V, and Harris and I were talking a little bit. I think it's a good thing to discuss. Just how important the first episode of a show is. That goes for anything. Ooh, David, you reminded me. Before I get into this topic, there is a Blade trailer doing the rounds. It's not for a movie, though. It's for a video game. Forgot about this. I'm excited. It's going to be by the guys who brought us like Dishonored as well as Deathloop, which are really good games. So I love that art style. So I'm really excited for that. So it's like Bethesda ran. There's not like the full-on developers of it, So it's like Bethesda's like Disney, and this is like Lucasfilm making a movie. You know what I'm saying? I think it looks good. I'm excited. It's going to be an Xbox and PC exclusive, most likely. But, I have an Xbox as well as a PlayStation, so it'll be fine. We'll be able to play that and get some gameplay to you guys, probably. Excuse me. What's up, Luce? What are you meowing me at for? Anyway. That looks good. Also, I guess there was this other news that apparently some hacker got a lot of information on Wolverine uh, the video game by Insomniac, right? And they're saying they have 7 days to give them like $2 million. They're gonna leak a lot of shit. So I'd say they're gonna say, "Fuck you guys. We're gonna release a trailer." So look out for something within 7 days for Wolverine, if this is in fact true information. So we'll see. We'll see. Now on to the comic book movie side of things. So again, I watched like half the first episode of Gen V, and I know I keep saying I'm gonna watch it, and a lot of people have been really liking it. There was something about that I just couldn't get into. I don't know what it was. And that's the thing. That just shows how important the first episode is. I mean, it drew it had a lot of like bam, like right away, like we see this young girl uh, kill her father and mother right before her eyes with learning she has superpowers. Right? That's crazy shit, and it got me intrigued. But there was just something. It just didn't really grasp me after that. After the shock and awe factor. So that's why you really have to like give it your all and make some good television with your first episode. And it's not that it's bad. I didn't really get that hook and reel. I got a little bit of that hook. I was tasting it. I got my treat a little bit, but it didn't reel me in. You know, and I think I'm gonna give it more of a shot because I know people really like the show, and I'm gonna give it a try. I'm gonna give it a try. But it's not like Invincible where I'm like, oh, this animation style's sick. It's animated and it's more like adult, which is cool. Loki, I thought had a great start with like, oh, you follow this Loki from the end of Endgame or in Endgame where he takes the Tesseract, and you had this whole like space police take him in, this time police, and I was pretty hooked. Especially when they started talking about a multiversal war, I'm like, oh shit, we're getting into some multiversal stuff with this show. And Harris, as you said, like The Boys, I felt like I was in it right away. This, I understand that it could take some time to breathe. I'm sure I'd really like it. I just need to find some time to be like, okay, I need to power through it. But I'm pretty sure it's a good show because I've heard great things. I just didn't love it from what I saw, but I didn't watch the whole thing. I'm gonna give it a shot. But yeah. So the idea is these shows really have to kill it, especially based on like if they're just plain old spin-offs. Like, are they gonna have a season 2 of Gen V? I don't know. Is it also necessary to watch Gen V before season 4 of The Boys come out? I think that's a big thing because like with Loki, I feel like that is necessary to watch before watching anything else when it comes to movies going forward, right? That's my thought process. But it's also just I don't like that these like watching TV is becoming and just any movies or whatever is becoming a little bit homeworky. You know what I'm saying? So I'd hate to have to watch like be forced to watch Gen V unless I'm like, oh, this show is remarkable. I want to watch it, and I'm hearing good things, so I feel like I will watch it all eventually. But I wish that wasn't the case because, like, yeah, Loki, I'll just recommend to anyone no matter what on its own merit. But like, so far with Gen V, I don't feel the same way. But yes. Okay. But yeah, again, I think Harris, I agree. I just think it is a little bit homeworky. If it's all leading into one another and builds into it, like Loki, I think it's something that to me it doesn't feel homeworky. I think it has enough of a hook and reel where it got me in, where I'm like, I'm watching a damn good show, right? And I'll get to that, David, for sure, because I was gonna bring up Hawkeye and Echo here in a second, where I think this is how I think things should work a little bit more so, right? So to continue my Loki thought, it has huge implications for the future of the MCU, right? But I think on its own, it's just a damn good show where I don't think like they could build off of it or they could just let it be its own thing. But it's obvious that it's going to have this huge effect on what's going forward, right? With how Loki, spoilers, but it's been out for a little bit, is now the god of stories. Like he's at like this, he's the ultimate man controlling all time and the multiverse, right? Which is sick. he has become one of the most, if not the most powerful character in Marvel right now. So I think it's important to know. But what I'm hoping for is like it's not like when we watch a future MCU movie coming up, this was homework and that's the quiz. And are we gonna fail when we watch it? Like, is this gonna go completely over our heads and it might have a distaste in our mouth after watching it? There's a possibility of that. I won't feel that. I'll be like, oh, this is sick because I watched Loki. But I don't feel like you have to be forced to watch these shows. But Loki is good enough where I'm like, watch it. Just watch it. It's awesome. You know? You get what I'm trying to say there? Now, when it comes to Hawkeye and Echo, this is how I think they should do things a bit more. Like with Hawkeye. Again, Hawkeye, I think, had a good start. It had a solid finish. Wasn't the best. I felt a little rushed at the end. But I thought Hawkeye overall, I thought was a very solid show. A very good Christmas show to watch, in fact. So I would say watch it. It's the Christmas season. Which, by the way, I'll talk about this in a second. But next, I'll talk about what I plan for next week's episode here soon. But I'm going to continue with this Hawkeye thought. My head goes all over the place when I'm talking. But anyway, is Hawkeye connected to Echo? Yes. Yes. You thought Amelia Clark was the most powerful person in the MCU? Well, they made her the most powerful person in the MCU, but I'm sorry, but Loki is clearly like a literal god now controlling everything within the timeline. So he's the reason she exists, basically. So I'm going to say he's more powerful than someone who can absorb all these different powers and use them. It's cool, but yeah. God of Stories Loki, I think, would kick her ass at this point in time. Like, he's going to be the one going toe-to-toe with Beyonder Kang is probably what's going to be happening. That's going to be sick. It's going to be dope. And you can see, I would love a sequence of Thor and Loki fighting together, and this is where Loki actually dies, finally. Would be nuts after this huge character arc, right? And Thor finally saying, or Thor officially dies this time, right? And that'd be cool. That'd be cool. I'd like to see that fight of the God of Thunder and the God of Stories taking on the Beyonder, who's Kang, the Conqueror. Sick. See, that's the question. I don't know. There's different layers to all this, like Eternals, Celestials. I'd say God of Stories Loki is more powerful than these Eternals. So the Eternals are powerful, but they don't seem that powerful. Celestials are a different story because I mean they're huge. But again, it's like, to me, it's like us looking at an ant, I guess. But an ant is some like, I don't know. I like that. That's something I just don't know how to explain because it's like there's so many different levels of power at this point. Spider-Man is one of the most powerful superheroes there is, but he's not gonna be able to fight a Celestial, right? Like Loki could potentially. It's definitely confusing. I agree. Celestials built the fabric of the universe, as you said. But then there's also like characters like Eternity, the Beyonder, the Watcher, all these different like levels of power. Where then you eventually get like Ultron with the Infinity Gauntlet, doing multiversal travel and stuff like that. Where it's like there's always a bigger fish, or there's like a little fish with a fuck ton of teeth compared to this huge fish that has no teeth or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. It's interesting. It's an interesting concept for sure. But I'd say Loki's definitely in that top echelon. But I'd say like someone like the Beyonder is where like you need the Avengers to take them on. Plus like a God of Stories Loki and like a Scarlet Witch and a Thor, the God of Thunder, and you know your top dogs, your most powerful. See, I agree. That was my thought process there. When I was going like tier list, it seems definitely like dimensional, where it's like Loki's probably like a third dimensional power, and like Spider-Man's like one, but he's like top tier of that one dimension, you know. And Loki God of Stories is like top of the like third dimension, but then you can have someone like the Watcher who overwatches everything and can like you know he's probably like middle of 4D, like technically more powerful, but there's just different levels of this power, you know. It's interesting. But Hawkeye, to get back to that real quick. yes, Echo is in that show, and you get that whole connection between her and Kingpin within this show. But Echo, I feel like you're going to be able to watch it without watching Hawkeye, which is nice because if you watch Hawkeye, it gives you that added benefit of like, oh, I know who Echo is. Oh, Kingpin's back. Oh, this is what he's doing, right? With Echo, it's probably just going to tell you how it is and what's going on. That connection between Echo and Kingpin, you're going to be able to gather from the show. Hawkeye builds on that, sure. But I don't see Hawkeye being homework to watch Echo. Excuse me. And then Echo is under the Marvel spotlight too, so it's supposed to like feel outside of the MCU while still being in it. So like that's what's nice because again, you don't have to watch everything. Just to sit down, watch this 5-episode series, and hopefully get some good content to watch, which is all taking place within the MCU. But you don't have to watch anything that comes before, which I think is really good. I think it's a very brilliant thing. That's what I think the biggest problem was with something like Multiverse of Madness, for example, right? Or even the Marvels, where I feel like you had to watch, like with Multiverse of Madness, you had to watch Scarlet Witch, or you had to watch WandaVision, I mean, to fully gather where Wanda is at this point in time. If you don't watch that, it's like, oh, Wanda's a bad guy just like that? That's kind of fucked. Because last time most people saw her was in Endgame. Yeah, she lost Vision and she came back, but she still helped the Avengers take down Thanos and had a great moment with Hawkeye at the end. Like, they didn't die for nothing, all these heroes. Vision, Black Widow, Iron Man. So it's like she felt like a hero. WandaVision at least builds into this idea of her becoming kind of bad, right? It's not just throwing your face like, oh, this is our villain. But then there's the Marvels, where it's like, okay, I can see how it'd be okay without watching these shows, but like you want to watch WandaVision and Miss Marvel to get an idea of who Monica and Miss Marvel are. So yeah, and David, I agree. I think Echo will be a good breath of fresh air. Breath of fresh air. So you're gonna get Daredevil in there. It's gonna be grounded. It's gonna be more crime related. You know, just the underground of the MCU instead of like the more mythical, magical, multiversal. It'll be nice. It'll definitely be a breath of fresh air. I'm excited for that. But it's definitely, like as Harris says, it's a follow-up to Hawkeye, but you don't have to watch Hawkeye. At least that's what I'm gathering. One from reviews that are coming out, and based on the trailer, it just seems like, oh, they're going to show you flashbacks of how Maya meets Kingpin and like their relationship, like where that's obviously established in Hawkeye. But Hawkeye is Hawkeye's show, not Maya's show. She just happens to be in it, and Kingpin happens to be in it. So it's nice. I agree. Also, David, I think Star Wars is having a similar issue where it's becoming a little homeworky. Like, yeah, you watch Mando, you meet Ahsoka, but she's barely in that. In Book of Boba Fett, she's only in 2 episodes of both of those. And unless you're really into Star Wars, people love Star Wars, but not everyone. Like my girlfriend, like for example, she likes Star Wars, but she's only watched the movies, and she's not someone who's going to want to watch every single episode of Clone Wars or Rebels. If you don't do that, frankly, Ahsoka is like, who the fuck is she? Like, I have to explain to her, like, oh, Ahsoka is the Padawan to Anakin Skywalker. She's like, well, you never had a Padawan within the movies. I'm like, well, you're right. Stuff you have to learn just from like really loving this universe, you know? And if you actually want to spend the time to watch these shows. But damn good shows or not, a lot of people aren't willing just to sit down and watch, like, for example, Clone Wars 7 seasons. You know, it's awesome. But Ahsoka shouldn't be there shouldn't be homework to watch Ahsoka. It's just make a damn good show. And yeah, you can introduce these characters, show that there's some history between them. And it's cool for those who've seen what's come before, like with Rebels, but it feels like it would have helped a lot more if you watched Rebels to watch Ahsoka. So that's something that Star Wars and Marvel have to figure out, that they can't just assume that your general audience are all super mega fans and know every single aspect of the universe, right? It's cool. You got to make it so there's awesome shit for like the hardcore fans, and then you just have it something very enjoyable and a good story and good action and humor and whatever for the general audience who just wants to watch something cool, that wants them to escape their everyday lives, because we know it's bullshit sometimes, our everyday lives. It's nice to watch something mystical and magical. But yeah, let's see. Okay, uh, I can kind of agree, but Star Wars. I mean, Star Wars was never based on anything. It was just Star Wars. You know, you watch A New Hope, it's the first movie, and it's sick, and then there's a sequel to that, and a sequel to that. And then George makes the prequels, and then we have all this other shit now. Well, I don't know if it should feel homeworky. I see the Clone Wars and Rebels as like awesome additions to the universe. Yeah, that's fair. Novels make it a little homeworky. But here's the other thing: like half the time they don't even fucking give a shit about the novels, because one, they got rid of half the shit with Legends, right? Then you have all these different like canon novels, and then even in the movies, they're just gonna retcon the shit, you know? Like there's stuff like at the end of Last Jedi, it's Rey meeting Poe, but apparently they met in one of the books. I don't remember which book. They met before that moment between Force Awakens and Last Jedi. So shit like that, where it's like people just don't care. Yeah, it's fair. Your biggest complaint with Filoni, yeah, I feel like he knows the universe pretty inside and out, but it's his POV, and like with most people having their own thing to add to the universe, he's very so like, oh, that doesn't matter. This is my vision. It's like, well, other people came up with cool shit, you know. So yeah, you're right. I agree with you. For Filoni's very much so willing to retcon shit. And it's like it makes Star Wars feel a little bit more like the Fox X-Men universe, where it doesn't feel like a very consistent canon. Like there's different stuff all the time, but they were able to make just very good stories, even if it didn't have a very consistent canon. Like you get like the original trilogy, and then you get First Class and Days of Future Past, and it's like, is it the same universe? I don't know half the time, but some of those movies kick ass. X2, First Class, Days of Future Past are all awesome. All badass movies. So it's an interesting concept, not gonna lie. Oh, I agree. Because you have multi-billion, as you said, it's a multi-billion-dollar story, right? You have so many people working on it, where there has to be someone in the middle, like a Kevin Feige, who's able to be like, this goes, that goes, this goes, where Feige's able to do a very good job at that. I just think they have to, like with Marvel side of things, they have to handle things very differently to not make it very homeworky, where you have to watch everything. But it's just an added benefit if you do. With Star Wars, there's no central figure where everything's all over the place, because they didn't have a plan for the sequel trilogy, right? Zero plan. That's why it's not a very consistent story, and it doesn't have that much heart. It's just like the third movie's it's just pander the movie, right? And it's just like, oh, you remember this, you remember that, blah blah blah. That's what the trilogy becomes. I mean, The Last Jedi gets away from that a little bit, but I don't think it's that good of a movie. It looks good, but it's not a very strong script. So it's like, what are you guys doing? They need someone to fill in a Feige role. It could be Filoni, but I don't know. Star Wars is kind of going down a bad route, and that's what's gonna be nice about Rebel Moon. In my opinion, it's gonna be a whole new franchise that could be sick, and it's from the ground up. So it's like, and Zach's making it from scratch. I don't know if he's writing the script on his own, but at least he has someone else to be like, all right, we're making something cool here. So that's what's nice. Like they can have a Bible, they can build up and grow, and know what's going on. With Star Wars, it's like there's a lot of shit that's already been existing, right? So you got to add with that and then have a plan. Feige at least is someone who's able to plan shit out. The problem is just he has a lot on his plate. I think that's the ultimate problem there with the MCU. Star Wars, there's not a whole lot on their plate. There's not. They haven't made a movie since 2019. a long time ago. It's been 4 years since it's been almost exactly 4 years since there was a Star Wars movie in theaters. And what have we gotten since then? We got some shows. You got 3 seasons of Mandalorian, or maybe just two. I don't remember when Mandalorian came out exactly. Maybe it was early 2020. I don't remember exactly. No, it came out right before Rise of Skywalker. Anyway, so you get 2 seasons of Mando. You get Book of Boba Fett. You get Andor, Kenobi, and Ahsoka. Am I missing anything? I don't think so. Well, I mean, Visions or whatever. I mean, that's a good amount of content. Don't get me wrong. But the MCU has had like 30 projects within that time frame. So that's a lot compared to what Star Wars is doing. And then Star Wars is putting out pretty mediocre content. Like Kenobi could have been way better. You could have made that a movie trilogy, and you could have put a lot more money into it, a fuck ton more money into it, because it was only like a $60 million thing, or 90, whatever. But you could have put like 150 million into it for each movie, and it would have been way better, no doubt about it in my mind. And you could have actually had time to like film and not be rushed, and probably get better performances, action, and cinematography all across the board. So that was a problem. Boba Fett just became Mando season 2.5 after like the first 3 episodes or whatever. Then Andor, it's cool. It's a good show. It looks brilliant, but it's not really that Star Warsy. Like, it doesn't have that heart and soul of Star Wars, in my opinion. It's a good show. Don't get me wrong. And then Ahsoka, like, it feels like Star Wars for like a good chunk of it. But it's so sloppy at times, and it just doesn't have that hook and reel. I feel for a lot of the general audience. I don't think like it's cool for like hardcore Star Wars fans half the time, but then even then, the story's kind of sloppy at times. So the ultimate problem is when it comes to TV with these huge franchises, which originally began with films. I think there's a good space for TV. But I also think it depends on who you're making TV shows for. And like specifically characters within the universe is what I'm trying to say there. Like Andor, yeah, I can see that becoming a show. Yeah, The Mandalorian could have been a sick like D&D inspired Star Wars show where it's like you're just one character going through the universe taking bounties, and then you come across different side quests. That's what it felt like for a while. And I think that's what Favreau was going for, and it's sick. But then it becomes too connected to like the Skywalkers and whatnot, which I don't think it was necessary. It was cool to see Luke Skywalker, but it should have been its own thing. It could have been its own separate thing that takes place. You can sometimes get some cameos from characters we know and love, but it doesn't need to be like this big Avengers like rising type of event thing. I don't think so. And I think we got much better content when it was like that. That's why Mando season 3 and Book of Boba Fett and Ahsoka don't feel right, because it feels like they're just building up to like an Avengers level movie, like an event film, and it's gonna be good. I have a lot of faith in a movie that's like, like Heir to the Empire, right? And that's obviously what they're building up towards. But now they're also deciding to make Mandalorian season 4 into a movie, which is even the Heir to the Empire movie, like Dave Filoni's movie. So that's kind of weird. They're just trying to rush something out the theaters, like, oh, we got Grogu. People are going to go to the theaters to see this little green baby, and it's cool. But like they could put a lot more care into it, because I love the character of Mando, and Grogu's cool. But I think they just work better for television, and you can bring them in whenever you get to this Heir to the Empire shit, because that'll be cool, because that's when it can be more connected to like the bigger universe. But just have Grogu and Mando go on like random quests. I think it's fun. It's fun like that. It doesn't have to be this huge thing. That's where I think the direction of Star Wars needs to go. Like, make the movies more like big, grand scale things, which it can feel like an event, and have the shows just saved for cool side stories. You can do it with characters we know and love. You can create brand new shit. And I think that's why I'm actually kind of excited for Skeleton Crew. Because it's heavily inspired by like 80s like stuff like E.T. and then like Stranger Things, but mix that with Star Wars and space. That sounds cool to me. I just hope they don't really connect it too much to the grand Skywalker shit, because I don't think everything has to be, unless you're going for a big event, right? That's my thoughts. It became a little bit of a Star Wars stream, but it connects to the MCU stuff and like what's going on under Disney with the TV shows. Uh, where again, I think things are starting to go in a better direction. The I think Disney in particular and other big studios like Warner Brothers, they're starting to realize like let's just make good shit and not make it where we're putting out it's quantity over quality. We need to stop that. We can make a good amount of content, but we need to put all of our best minds towards the project and make something good so people keep coming back. We've lost that a little bit. And I shouldn't have to watch every single piece of television to watch an eventual movie. Movies I can understand because they come out in theaters. It gives you a reason to go to the theater to see this movie so you can see the next one. That's what the MCU was, and it was sick when it was like that. But I digress. But all right, guys, I think I might do it. Turned into a little bit of a longer stream than I anticipated because I wasn't expecting that much for not having that much news. But I think we handled some great subjects. Do you think, well, for starters, I want you to leave some comments down below. But do we like the shows and the Star Wars side? Oh, what would you like to see, David? Ooh, see, now I agree. I think that could be a cool little fun side, like, mini series on Disney Plus. Just give us like 5 or 6 episodes of his character doing shit. And I think people would watch it. Yeah. But anyway, I want to know in the comments, guys, what of these shows have you enjoyed? What has really brought you in to be like, oh, I'm gonna keep watching this from like the MCU or Star Wars or whatever? And does it feel very homeworky to you? Because I think that's something that really needs to change within, honestly, under the Disney helm. Because I think Star Wars and the MCU are really struggling from this. No matter I think that's the bottom line. They're struggling. So let's hope that they're gonna kind of fix that. I think Echo has potential to be like a little bit of a starting point to what we could see within when it comes to shows. And hopefully we get a lot of new information soon because we're sitting in the dark here a little bit when it comes to news. We know some stuff that's coming out. We know there's a lot of problems behind the scenes. But I think we need a clear-cut slate from both Star Wars and the MCU to get a good feeling of us wanting to see more of this content because right now I think they're losing a lot of fans. I think they are. I will always love this stuff. I just want them to make quality shit. All right, guys. Have an awesome Tuesday. It was great talking to you guys. I'll catch y'all very soon. Bye-bye.